And we begin with the champion around whom this fight card is built, making the first defense of his undisputed UFC featherweight championship, Ilia Topuria. 145, the official weight for the champion, Ilia Topuria. All right, next athlete to the stage is the other man around whom this fight card was built, a man who needs no introduction, former UFC featherweight champion, the BMF belt holder, and the future UFC Hall of Famer, Max Blessed Holloway.
145.
145, the official weight for Max Holloway. All right, next fighter to the scale is an absolute UFC legend, the former undisputed UFC middleweight champion, competing in the co-main event live on pay-per-view, now the number 3 ranked contender, Robert the Reaper Whittaker. 185.5, the official weight for Robert Whittaker. The other half of the co-main event in the middleweight division, the number 13 ranked contender, Khamzat Chimaev. 186, the official weight for Khamzat Chimaev. All right, next athlete set to weigh in this morning, the number 10 ranked UFC welterweight in the world, Jeff Hands of Steel Neal. 171, the official weight for Jeff Neal. All right, next man up, one of the best light heavyweights in the world, the number 5 ranked contender, competing live on the pay-per-view main card, Alexander Rakic. 206, the official weight for Alexander Rakic. All right, back to the welterweight division now as we say hello to Rinat Fakhretdinov. 171, the official weight for Rinat Fakhretdinov. All right, next athlete set to weigh in this morning, competing in a preliminary bout in the middleweight division, Abus Magomedov. 185 for Abus Magomedov. All right, next fighter to hit the scale, competing at a catch weight of 160 pounds, Muktabek Oralbai. 159, the official weight for Muktabek Oralbai. All right, next fighter to weigh in this morning, competing live on pay-per-view, the number 12 ranked featherweight in the world, still undefeated, Lerone the Miracle Murphy. 145.5, the official weight for Lerone Murphy. Next man up, set to make his UFC debut in the welterweight division live on ESPN+, Carlos Leal. 169.5 for Carlos Leal. All right, next fighter to the stage, competing in the middleweight division, back for the first time in a long time, Ismail Naurdiev. 185 for Ismail Naurdiev. All right, next fighter to weigh in, competing in the heavyweight division, back for the first time in a couple years, Chris Barnett. 264, the official weight for Chris Barnett. All right, next man to the scale, competing in the featured prelim in the light heavyweight division, Rafael Cerqueira. 203, the official weight for Rafael Cerqueira. All right, next fighter to the scale, initially contracted at bantamweight, now competing in a featherweight prelim, Victor Hugo. $145.5, the official weight for Victor Hugo. All right, next man to the stage is the #1 ranked light heavyweight contender. Competing live on pay-per-view, he is Magomed Ankalaev. 204.5, the official weight for the #1 contender, Magomed Ankalaev. All right, next fighter to the scale, competing at a catch weight of 160 pounds, Mateusz Raumbecki. 160 on the nose, the official weight for Mateusz Raumbecki. All right, next man to the scale, competing in the UFC's heavyweight division here on Saturday night, Kennedy Nzechukwu. 241, the official weight for Kennedy Nzechukwu. All right, next man to the scale, the other half of the featured prelim in the light heavyweight division, Ibo Aslan. 205, the official weight for Ibo Aslan. All right, next fighter to the stage, competing in the featherweight division, Farid Basharat. 137, the official weight for Farid Basharat. All right, next fighter to weigh in this morning, charged with kicking off the pay-per-view main card of the middleweight division, Armen Petrosyan. 186, the official weight for Armen Petrosyan. All right, next fighter to the stage, competing in a welterweight prelim on the eve of his 40th birthday, the future Hall of Famer, former undisputed UFC lightweight champion, Rafael dos Anjos. 171, the official weight for Rafael dos Anjos. All right, next fighter to the scale, competing in a prelim on ESPN Plus in the middleweight division, Bruno the Hulk Ferreira. 185.5, the official weight for Bruno Ferreira. All right, next fighter to the scale, competing in a prelim on ESPN Plus in the middleweight division, Blindado Bruno Silva. 186, the official weight for Bruno Silva. All right, next fighter to the scale, weighing in as a backup for our featherweight championship main event, one of the top contenders, Diego Lopez. 145, the official weight for Diego Lopez. All right, next fighter to weigh in here this morning, competing live on pay-per-view in the main card opener in the middleweight division, Shara Bullet Magomedov. 185, the official weight for Shara Magomedov. All right, next man to weigh in this morning, competing live on the pay-per-view main card, the number 14 ranked featherweight contender, Dan 50K Ige. 146, the official weight for Dan Ige.